B&G, you asked for prayer. Pizza right here. Here goes. Dear Heavenly Father, boldly come before your throne and pray that this show would just go off without a hitch. I pray that there would be no technical difficulties. Lord, I lift up Basil to you. I pray for a speedy recovery. I lift up Gonzo to you. I pray that he would be able to hold things down here until Basil's return. Lift up the entire Canarium. I pray that cages would be rattled. I pray that seeds would be planted. And I pray that the messages that you want sent would be sent and received. Pray that new people would hear this message. And most of all, I pray that they would accept Christ as their Savior. All these things I pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. It is May 15th, Monday. Episode number 623. Peace, ALGOS. My name is Gonz, director of the Age of Deceit films. Wife calls me the Cabana Boy, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from California to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And, of course, no Basil again today, as you can tell. We'll get a full upload update on Basil. Upload too. I mean, technically there is an upload element to this, but it's not good news. It's actually moved the opposite direction. I'll let Basil explain it. Let's just get all the necessary things out of the way here. YouTube, we're not here to spread misinformation or disinformation. Well, I'll let the thing talk.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube. That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys.
Now, the more canned Basil stuff I have, the weirder it feels when he's not here, you know? So, all right. Let's do a quick roundup, and then we'll get to some specific updates from Basil.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
All right, we're going to start things off today, obviously, with Basil's update. It's not good, folks. Not good, but I think he will pull through. The Lord is with him. We'll do a FLIPPY update in honor of Basil here. There's some important things to talk about with this Matician. We'll learn more about that. Then we'll talk about Zelenskyy, Ukraine, meeting with Pope Francis in Rome. There's some interesting things to point out here, as well as some trades or gifts that Pope Francis gave to Zelenskyy. And we'll talk about that, as well as a weird, interesting kind of cyclical thing that I noticed concerning Bitcoin, but it's connected to the Pope and Zelenskyy. And we'll just go down the rabbit hole, and I'll explain myself. Then we'll talk about the lawsuit that CNN is reporting alleged that social media companies promoted white supremacist propaganda that led to radicalization of Buffalo mass shooter. We'll look into that and dig into what it's actually about, which is a little bit more than simply, white supremacist propaganda being spread around. There's an agenda here. And also from CNN, the real reasons stores such as Walmart and Starbucks are closing in big cities. Oh, tell us, CNN, what's the reason? Is it inflation or, just failing economy? They have a good excuse, apparently. Business Insider, we're going to bring AI info to you, influencer who created an AI version of herself. Well, the AI went rogue, and so we're seeing the glimpses of the dystopian world that we're about to enter. And then at the end, we'll do a quick Nephilim update. A little bit of a shorter show, maybe, than normal. But then again, when I'm solo, I tend to ramble way more than I should. So there you go. All right, let's get to the beginning here and get an update from Basil. I did get a message from him. He's been pretty dark in terms of not, communicating much. I have to sneeze, but okay. Sneeze coming, going. Okay. All right. I'll just let Basil explain himself what's going on. And this is a 16-minute message from Basil, and we'll play the whole thing here. Here we go.
Hey everybody, it's your best buddy Basil here with Basil's Appendix Update. Yeah. I'm going to be talking softly and very close to this microphone because I am in the hospital, in a hospital bed, that I have lived in for the past 6 or 7 days. I have made it my home. I have put down some roots. I found a lovely ivy tower thing, who is now my lovely wife, and we have 4 children who are a rolly table. Okay, this is getting out of control. Sorry. I'm giving very important updates about my health, my life, and my future. Thank you to everybody who's been supporting the show while I have been out. As many of you may already know, on Tuesday of last week, I thought that I was just very gassy. It was, I think, Monday night. Monday night? Yeah, Monday night. I just thought I had a very gassy night. I thought I was having the gassiest of nights, and for 12 hours, I was in pain. So much pain that I thought, you know what I need to do is tell a doctor about how gassy I am. And so what I did on Tuesday is I went into urgent care. Ended up getting a, what is it called? Sonogram. That's what it is. Yeah, I got a sonogram, and everybody was very nice, and the jelly was very warm, and then it was very cold. And the lady at the urgent care said that I likely had a gallbladder issue or whatever, and then it would likely go away. So I went home. And I took a nap, and 3 hours later I woke up in the most excruciating pain that I think any human is capable of having, at least from my personal experience. And so this time I went to the emergency room. I know, I'm learning all the differences between urgent care and emergency room. Big difference, folks. Had a lot of fun there at the emergency room. Had the staff taking bets on what was causing the sort of blinding white pain that was shooting through my body with every move and every breath and every thought that the Lord graced me with. There's talks about gallbladder problems, and of course there was some bets on appendix issues, and I just had no idea. I had no idea what it could possibly be. I'm a pretty healthy person. I take care of myself. I take care of the Lord's temple. And they have a CT scanner at the ER. They pop me in that sucker. Lo and behold, turns out not one but two surprises. Number one, my appendix is in the wrong location. That's right. I got quite the weird little jumble of organs in there. Things are not where they're supposed to be. Not only was it not where it was supposed to be, but it was also in tatters. That's right. It had already exploded. And as a result, I, dear friends, had entered what they called, what I was told is called sepsis. Ooh, it's just very spooky. I think it's just when your blood becomes poison and it's not good. I don't think you last very long after you go septic, as they say. Sorry, that was a big one. So had gone septic. Took my first ride in an ambulance. That was cool. And they lined me up for surgery at about 5 a.m. And then, let's see here. Yeah, general anesthesia is crazy. Thank goodness for that, but that was crazy. Some people had asked, and here's your answer. Yeah, I can confirm that Flippy Arms, our beloved Flippy, has been inside my body and has cold, calculated, surgical precision, has sliced and diced my appendix right on out of there with his loving robotic touch. So I don't really know how to feel about that yet. I feel like I might need to go to therapy to maybe find some deeper feelings about how close I am to my good friend Flippy now. But I'll give an update on that later. And then I woke up with holes in my tummy, and lo and behold, still excruciating pain. The pain, folks, has not stopped for 6 whole days. And it does not matter what combination or dosage of the fanciest drugs that these hospital people can think of, none of it is doing the job. I am just barely able to be recording this message now without sort of constant interruptions because you can't see me. You can't see me wincing and shaking with every breath. But just know that you guys deserve it. All right, so that's the deal. I got the appendix out, had gone septic, was still septic, was on the antibiotics. There's some drama. Look, our nurses, they're heroes. We all agree. We all agree that the nurses are the heroes. Even when they're TikToks, they're the heroes of TikTok and the heroes of our medical system, patient care related services. We appreciate them. But I will say, folks, not all nurses are your friends. No, they are not. I had a nurse who just didn't believe me, I guess. Thought I was a junkie. Thought I was a junkie because I had refused some IV drugs, which are the strong ones. I had refused IV drugs because I was hoping to be able to go home. these appendices, these appendectomies, that's what they're called. These appendectomies, they're usually in and out, baby. You're in, you're out, you're home. 3 days later, you're pain-free, you're done. That is not what's happening to me. I am not an in-and-out case, apparently. And this nurse does not appreciate that about me. Long story short, she spent some time telling me that I was a junkie, and then made some choices that sent me into some sort of alternate hell realm pain dimension where I could not speak, I could not think, I could not do anything. It was unbelievable. And the only way to get me out of it was to give me the meds that I had told them that I didn't want. Sneaky, huh? Kind of sneaky like that. And that was weird. She then proceeded, after telling me I was a junkie, she then proceeded to tell me that if I wanted a bowel movement, that I should run around like a dog. I thought that was a little weird. That was kind of a weird thing to tell a patient. And then as she walked out the door, before closing the door, she turned around and said, you know, you should really try to meditate. The mind is the best painkiller. And I sort of laid there, wincing in pain, and also sort of mouth agape in a stupor at the strangeness of this person who allegedly the state has certified to care for patients in a hospital setting. Or pray for this woman. I do not think she is well. But here's the thing. Don't worry. She will not be on the case. She has been taken off. She still works on the floor. She still works on the floor, and I see her walking around. And it's very awkward. So pray for me, pray for her. Here's the updates. Today, I just learned that I have an abscess that has grown, and I need another surgery. So probably as you are listening to this, if you're listening live on Monday, I am probably in surgery right now. Flippy, our beloved Flippy, digging around, wiggling around in there, searching for a little water balloon of plague juices. I think that's what an abscess is. I think it's like a little infectious water balloon inside my body. So Flippy's going to be getting that out. And then I think it's just going to be more. It's going to be more of this bed. It's going to be more of this hospital bed. More of this hospital room. For a few days, please pray for a quick recovery. I am losing my bananas in here, folks. I am starting to get a little cuckoo. And I would love to get back to the emus, to the kitties, back to the show as soon as possible. I'm so very grateful, of course, to God for bringing me this far. I don't know what the plan is here, big guy, but I trust you. And thank you for our wonderful producers. Thank you to all the producers who are producing in all sorts of wonderful ways. I see your notes. Your notes are lovely. Let's see here. I'm not looking. I don't know why I said let's see here, like I'm looking at something. I'm laying in the dark with my eyes closed, speaking into the darkness. But going by memory, I want to thank Dame Gail for sending me some information on patients' rights. That was very important for me to look into. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Jade Bouncer sent me one wonderful note. Lots of people on Twitter saying lots of nice things. Thank you so much. People who are producing financially, you're blowing my mind. You're warming my heart. I am cringing at the thought of whatever is going to happen after this, and I'm finally out, and I check the mail one day, and there's some sort of horrible, some bill or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But thank you for producing the show. Thank you for supporting Gons during this time. He has carried the show through a lot of things over the years, but this is maybe one of the most important. And he is moving. He is doing so much stuff. I was supposed to be carrying the show while Gons was moving. Do you see how crazy this is, guys? I was supposed to be covering for Gons this month, and now he has to do this. So Gons is working double time. He's a champion. We appreciate that, Gonzo, and give him a little grace when it comes to thanking producers. I am usually the one who does the administrative work on the producerships. If anybody gets missed or anything, we will catch up. We'll make it right when I'm back in the saddle. And I will try to give everybody updates. Maybe I'll try to give another recording after my second surgery. I don't know if people want this, if they like it, if it brings any value, whatever. Just let us know. I don't have to do this if it's not worth it. I know it's very long. Okay. All right. Well, I love you, everybody. And thanks for listening to this episode of your best buddy Basil's appendicitis update. And make sure to tune in next time. Think outside the appendix. No, that's not good. Think outside the rib cage. No, that's not great either. Oh, that hurts. Okay, yeah, think outside the cage. Okay, bye.
Oh, man. It's tough to listen to, but we're praying for you, Basil, and we know the whole Canarium is lifting you up. So hopefully a quick recovery. You know, it is kind of, there's some irony with this whole flippy surgical machine that is like in Basil looking for sacks of goo in his body. But also that nurse. I mean, come on, nurse. Can't bring in, you know, there's something to be said about the worldview of the nurses. I think might shape sort of the attitude while they're at work. I don't know. Okay. Hard to transition out of that with anything, but there you go. Hopefully you guys are up to speed a little more on what's going on. And I'm learning all this medical stuff, you know, as you do. If you have friends or family who go through stuff, you start looking into stuff. And I'm looking at this abscess thing, and I'm like, man, this is not good. Poor guy, man. He's just one hit after another. And so hopefully we can beat this one, and we'll be back full duo. But until then, we'll just have to see what happens. Okay, so where do we go from here? Let's see. It is it Monday? Oh, it is Monday.
Gary, what day is it? Monday. Monday.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
It is Monday, and I started the move this weekend. So we got a 20-foot U-Haul, and it's a process because we have some furniture and things that we didn't move. We'll do that in a couple weeks. The office is moving, I think, even a week or two after that. So it'll be into June when we're totally done with it. But in the meantime, it'll just be, you know, moving things here and there and trying to figure out how to best set up the space, the third car garage there, into a studio. And so we can do all kinds of stuff, all kinds of fun stuff planned. But So that's it. That's been my weekend, just lifting heavy things, and it's kind of fun, fun with just me and my wife doing it, moving stuff around and setting up furniture a little bit and stuff. So it's a lot of work, but I think it'll be worth it. And one thing I noticed about this new location, it is very quiet. I didn't realize, we currently live next to a freeway, like highway thing. I didn't realize how loud those things are. It's, you move away from one a little bit and it's just quiet. So I think we're going to be the loud ones in the neighborhood, unfortunately. But in any case, as you all know, we operate on a value for value system. The simple principle here is that we provide value for free. The content is and will always be free. And if you get value out of it, then you can provide value back. And the cool thing about value for value is you get to choose the amount, whether it be a couple bucks here or there or something bigger. We appreciate all of it. And it only works because of that open system. We have some suggestions. If you go to canarycry.support, and there are various ways to do so. You can hop on monthly with a supply drop where you get some gifts every quarter, or you can do the t-shirt council. Same thing. You get a t-shirt every quarter as a gift. And, it's just a cool way to support the show. And there are actually a couple things, actually one particular story this episode that we'll get to. It's about the social media companies and the lawsuit and, promoting white supremacist propaganda and all that. And so the point really, and I'll give away the point now, which is that the traditional ad model for corporate America, corporations, whatever you want to call it, is kind of dead. It's been dead for a while in a sense, but it's dead because of the trust factor, the trust as a currency. And so we'll look into it. I'll dig into it more when we get to that story. But what comes out of something, the other story was the FLIPPY update that we're going to do right after this. And basically that whole thing, as well as a sort of value for value system. And actually that's more explicit. That's the one that I really wanted to point out. We'll get to it. This whole episode is sort of connected in various ways, themes that come to the surface. And so anyway, that being said, we're just glad to be part of the ecosystem here where we provide content and you guys can decide whether it's worth it or not as we move forward here. So real quickly, we're going to thank our executive producers.
Executive producers.
Ooh, that jingle is very quiet. Yes, executive producers who come in with that extra little bit per episode. Anybody who supports us with $100 or more, we appreciate you very much, and we thank you for your commitment in keeping the show going in that way. We have one executive producer today, and that is Palmer B. Thank you, Palmer B. Nice. I think that's a pretty round number. I think I'll keep it anonymous. If you would like us to read the number, do something fun with the centage. Centage, is that a word? I don't think that's a word. With the cents. Do 133.33 or something like that, and we'll know to read it. If you don't want us to read the amount, give us a flat number or a I don't know. See, this number is kind of in between. So, but anyway, thank you, Palmer B. We appreciate you. I did not see a note, and again, let me just preface this episode by saying that if I miss any producerships, if I miss something, if I miss a streak number or something, I apologize ahead of time, and then we'll make it right in the future. Between Basil and I, we kind of have split duties with the accounting, and so there's only parts that I can see. And so anyway, that's the situation. So again, apologies ahead of time. But for this episode, thank you, executive producer Palmer B.
Where'd you find this?
All right, and I don't think there's much else to do here. Real quickly, I'll mention the meetups.
Canary Cry meetup.
I believe there was supposed to be a meetup today. There was one that was canceled, and I don't remember if it was this one. NorCal meetup today, 5:30 p.m., which is right about almost an hour from now. So interesting if you're in that area. Ziffer Books and Coffee Craft Night meetup at 328 West Minor Street in Wairika, California. So there you go. Contact Dame Debbie. There's a number there and an email address. Just go to canarycrimemeetups.com. I mean, if you hear this now and you go to that meetup, let us know, because that's some real time crunching. So there you go. You also have Glen Rose, Texas, the 27th and 28th of May. Then we got some more in September. So if you would like to go to one, go to canarycrimemeetups.com, see if there's one near you. And if there's not, consider putting one on yourself. Just be the host or hostess. Choose a location, figure out a date and time. We'll help you make a flyer if you can't do it, and we will promote it here on Canary Crime News Talk. So there you go, canarycrimemeetups.com. We'll see you there.
This is fun! See you at the meetup.
And real quickly, supply drop. Yes, so we have, again, we mentioned earlier, a very unique way to support the show on a monthly basis, $33.33 to stick it to those Freemasons and occultists. And what that does is it shows a little bit of commitment for what we do here, and as a gift from us to you, we give you a drop of supplies that are Canary Cry branded, made in America, produced right here. And there's some really cool stuff that you're going to get. You're going to get guitar strings. You got your Samurai steel guitar strings with my first self-branded guitar string. It's so cool. It's like the coolest thing ever. I don't feel like I deserve it. It's like I don't really play guitar really to show anything, but got strings. Also pins and challenge coins and art, and it's all made by producers. And so you can get some of that cool stuff. But one of the big things that we're doing for this next 3 quarters is Age of Deceit 1, 2, and 3. We're going to print the DVDs. We'll send it to you as part of the supply drop. If you join, I think there's a deadline. I'm not 100% sure about the deadline. And I know Sir Ike messaged us, and I'm supposed to respond to it. And there's a lot going on, so I'll get that all squared away as we move forward. But there you go. CanaryCrySupplyDrop.com. There you go. Thank you very much.
Waiting for supply drop.
Okay. So in honor of Basil, let's do the Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
All right. This is the Flippy update. Flippy is the name of the disembodied robot arm that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore the many ways in which robots are taking over the world and how there's not much we can do about it. And today we have a story from IEEE Spectrum, one of the very early sources that we went to when we started doing this, at least for me. Face Like the Sun blog, I think, back in 2011 when I first started everything. I went to IEEE because they were talking a lot about transhumanism. They were kind of a funnel to get the cutting edge science in biotech and all that kind of stuff. So they're the ones bringing this article here. Matician brings a service model to home cleaning robots. Matic will take care of your floors for $125 a month. Oh, talk about value. We'll get to that. And by the way, I'm curious what Chris White, our old friend Chris White, thinks. For those who may not know, Chris, in the post sort of Ancient Aliens Debunked and Nowhere to Run career of doing truth videos and biblical breakdowns and verse by verse stuff, he wrote a couple books, and then he made a channel called Vacuum Wars, where he just, compares vacuums and the price and the performance and just this whole science experiment with each episode. And I mean, just very successful, very awesome. Go check it out. Vacuum Wars. Very well done. And man, it's just, it's so smart to do that. He has all the capacity to do it, And so I would be curious what he thinks about Matician, Matic. So let's learn a little bit about this robot vacuum, which, by the way, again, the whole Flippy saga began with Basil owning a couple of robot vacuums. If you recall, one of them went rogue and ran away. But anyway, here's what it says. In industry, it's pretty common for robots to be sold as a service. That is, rather than buying the robot and managing it yourself, you instead rent the service that the robot provides. This service includes renting the robot itself, but it also includes stuff like installation, maintenance, repairs, tech support, software updates, and all that good stuff that you'd otherwise have to worry about separately. This is a good model for companies that want a robot to do useful things for them without having to go through the agony, the agony of becoming a little bit of a robotics company themselves. So learning about robots and doing all that, if you're not really into it, it's just agony. Typically, this robotics as a service, RAAS or RAS, which we've covered before, model is not something that we did or not something that we see with domestic robots. The closest that we get is some kind of additional subscription for specific features. But a startup called Matician is bringing this idea to home floor cleaning robots by launching Matic, a combination vacuuming and mopping robot that can be yours for an all-inclusive $125 a month. Is a clean floor worth, I don't know, like 6 Netflix subscriptions per month or something? I don't know what the math is, but something like that. I mean, they're very ambitious about this. $125. Like some other robot vacuums we could mention, Matic uses vision to build a map of your home and navigate around looking for messes. Looks for messes, that's good. But it does create an interesting 3D map as it does so and provides a live rendering of where the robot is on that map. I'm not sure how necessary it is in day-to-day use, but it's pretty cool. Oh, thank you. The cameras also mean that Matic is good at both detecting messes that need to be cleaned as well as not running into or over anything important as it cleans those messes. How does it know that? I don't know. That's kind of weird. A small water reservoir allows Matic to wet mop or vacuum as it sees fit, and all waste, wet and dry, ends up in the removable bag inside of the robot. The bag is preloaded with an absorbent polymer that so that anything wet that ends up in the bag turns into a gel rather than making things more gross when they would be otherwise. Now that is pretty intense. You have the stuff that turns anything liquid into gel form. Matic can autonomously roam around your house looking for messes, or it can respond to voice commands and cleverly gestures for targeting cleaning on demand. One unique-ish feature of Matic is that almost everything is done on robot. It is done on robot. This includes map building and image recognition, meaning that no video or audio ever leaves your home. Oh, interesting proposal. Like, you got privacy concerns? Don't worry. Everything is just contained in the robot until we have a problem or an inquiry. Then, hey, Matic, give us the data, Matic. You got to let us know what you got. In fact, you don't even need to connect the robot to the internet if you're not intending to control it remotely. The app works locally over your Wi-Fi. Hey, some nice privacy features. You're not going to be sharing all that data. If this is something you're interested in, you'll probably want to run the math on it before you commit to anything. Yeah, it's $600 more expensive than a Roomba, $1,500 per year. And by the way, Matic is probably short for automatic. And Matic sounds familiar in my head because there is a cryptocurrency project called Matic. It's actually, I think they rebranded to Polygon. It's a layer 2 Ethereum scaling solution. It was one of the first movers in that regard. And they, I think the team is from India. And so I don't know if there's going to be any partnerships or any kind of lawsuit or trademark issue here with the Matic and the Polygon and the whole deal. But that's kind of beside the point. But here's where I wanted to really highlight some interesting things here. This additional cost, and they talk about all this costs of doing business or vacuum, is not just throwing money into the void, though. Here's how Matician justifies it. Okay. So this is Matic's pitch. Remember a few minutes ago during the executive producership, I was just talking about how the future of, I don't know, business, just the future financial model, so to speak, is value for value. This is not fully there yet, but it's moving in that direction. So here's what it says. Matic is designed as a service to keep your floors clean all the time. The membership for this service ensures, so they're justifying the $125 a month with this. Number one, you always have the best. Hey, that's kind of subjective, but I like it. I mean, I will gladly just pop that right onto the top of every page of everything we produce or publish. You have the best right here. Best podcast, at least in the metaverse. Little notes here under the best. As we build and release new versions of Matic hardware, we will upgrade yours at no additional cost. As a member, you will always have the latest and best version of hardware available. But what if you fall in love with the current model? This is what people don't consider, is that people fall in love with the current version, the current system, and then you got to keep up with the times. So you add, new hardware, new software, whatever. And then, your loyal customers have to deal with that somehow. They either have to part ways or, they can experience some depression. These are all things that have happened, by the way, already in Japan with the elderly and robots and around the world. So I'm not out of turn by, suggesting that kind of thing. But yeah, what about that current model issue? And that is sort of the problem with technology in general, is that it just keeps upgrading. And so you can't really get comfortable with anything. Okay, so, all right, you have the best. They're always updating their hardware, and you don't have to pay more when they have new gear that comes out. We will frequently update Matic software with new features and capabilities. Okay, thank you. Which means they're going to be, okay, if all this stuff is contained and it doesn't have to connect to the internet, how are they doing this? If there's a non-internet connected Matic out there, how are you going to get these updates? See, that's where they get you. They're like, hey, you can have your privacy, but it's like every time you connect back to the Matic HQ to get all the downloads for the new software, boom, 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 data exchange, all that data that was private is no longer. Okay, free repairs and maintenance are included. Thank you. Number 2, you are in control. Oh, if Matic doesn't provide continuous value to you, you may cancel and return the robot for refund or unused months. Oh, great. Hey, if it's not bringing value. If you have feedback or suggestion on new features or capabilities, we will do our best to implement them. Oh, so we are in control. The customer's in control. This is a point that we've made with the value for value model in general, which is that, yeah, you guys get to decide what the value is. This is a little tricky. This is a little sneaky because they're like, well, we're saying the value is $125 a month, and look at all these things we'll do for you. But in the true value for value model, you don't have that. You don't have this thing. I mean, we have our tiers of suggestion, so to speak, but it's not, we don't have these set things. Whereas with Matic, the vacuum robot company here, the subscription model, the RAS subscription model, you have to have that. You don't have to think about it. Number 3. Great. That's, hey, wonderful. You don't have to think about it. I'm glad. Number 4, we can continue to improve Matic. Your membership ensures that we will never stop iterating this product and delivering new value to you. Our goal is for you to love Matic more and more each month. So there you go. That's a pretty decent pitch there. It's borderlining on value for value. And I think this type of model for businesses is going to become way, way more ubiquitous, normalized. It's going to be out there. And in fact, I think this little blurb from part 4, I mean, we can just lift it and use it for our own purposes here. For example, I can say your producership ensures that we will never stop publishing this podcast and delivering new value to you. Our goal is for you to love Jesus Christ and Canary Cry News Stock Radio more and more each episode. So there you go. We can use it for our own purposes. And then there's a little part here at the as it continues, because it talks about how, if you're worrying about maintaining a robot or fixing a robot or ordering consumables for a robot, if that stresses you out, then maybe it's worth paying a little extra for that peace of mind. Pay a little extra. So this type of language, really, if you think about it, that's the product. The product is not clean floors. The product is peace of mind, because everyone's going to have robots vacuuming. Whoa, hey, what's going on? Family invasion. Children invading. Okay, can we close the door, please? Excuse me for 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. All right, yeah. Hey, what do I have to pay to get a little peace of mind over here for doing a podcast? Oh boy! All right, the first release of Matic will begin shipping in early fall of 2023, but you can reserve one now for a fully refundable deposit of $125. Get ready to pay your $125 a month for this robot vacuum that just does it all. You don't have to worry about a thing. It just does it for you. So there you go. That's Matic, the new vacuum, the robot vacuum. It's not so much the vacuum itself that is revolutionary, other than, hey, you get a 3D version of the the vacuum vacuuming your floor. If you're in the real space, what is this? I mean, this is only for remote purposes. It's really kind of pointless. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth the whole cost there. It's almost like you're being the maintenance person for the robots, and that's what you're paying for. I get it, but I don't know. We'll have to get some opinions from the Vacuum Wars the director, or I don't know, the guy who runs Vacuum Wars, Chris White. So there you go. There's your Flippy update for today, and we shall move on to some stories. This first one about Ukraine.
And you shall hear wars and rumors of wars.
Fight for Ukraine. New world order.
Space Pope Reptilian.
Oh, there's stories clashing. We have the Ukraine story and we have Space Pope Reptilian clashing in the real world. This is CBS News headline: Zelensky meets with Pope Francis in Rome. Ooh. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had private talks with Pope Francis at the Vatican on Saturday, later saying he sought support for Ukraine's peace plan from the pontiff, who in the past has offered to try to help end the full-scale war launched by Russia a year ago. Zelensky held his hand out over his heart and said it was a great honor to meet with the Pope. That's kind of how he sounds, right? He's got that I am Zelensky. Francis, using a cane for his knee problem, came to greet the Ukrainian president before ushering him to a papal studio near the Vatican's audience hall. In a tweet after the 40-minute audience, Zelensky expressed gratitude to Francis for, quote, his personal attention to the tragedy of millions of Ukrainians. I can't tell if is that it good? Is that bad? I don't know. He said he spoke with the pontiff, quote, about the tens of thousands of deported Ukrainian children. We must make every effort to return them home. Ugh, this hurts my throat. How does he talk? Does this guy chain smoke or something? Does Zelensky chain smoke? Is that why he's in this sweatshirt all the time? He never looks official. He looks like he's just kind of lounging, you know? Anyway, I continue. Zelensky also said that he asked the Pope to condemn Russian, quote, crimes in Ukraine because, quote, there can be no equality between the victim and the aggressor. Okay? And this is the part that that really stuck out to me. Quote, I also talked about peace formula as the only effective algorithm for achieving a just peace, Zelensky said. Later, in an interview on Italian state TV, the Ukrainian leader said the Pope, quote, knows my position. The war is in Ukraine. That is why it has to be Ukrainian plan to bring peace. So Zelensky and CBS News decided to capitalize peace formula in the quote, which I thought was interesting. A peace formula, an effective algorithm for achieving peace. What are we in a simulation, Zelensky? What are you talking about? That is so bizarre. Like, I have this formula. It is an effective algorithm. It will bring peace. It's like, what? This guy's like the new, I don't know, the new Soros or the new Kissinger or something. Which, by the way, I know about the Soros, is Soros dead thing, and you know he said he's not, and who knows, and whatever. You know, I was kind of like, hey, the dude is like 172 years old. You know, he's already a vampire. It's like if he dies, okay, he was an old man. You know, I just don't get it. But anyway, let us continue here. So, back to the peace formula. The peace formula, an effective algorithm. Very interesting language there. And I'm wondering if Pope Francis even knew. First off, because the conversation was private, we don't know if Zelensky used those words. But I am curious if the Pope was like, or whatever. Like, what does he understand what Zelensky's talking about when he's talking about a peace formula, specifically being an algorithm that achieves peace? I don't know, but it's something I wonder. And it's kind of a, well, there's more to this because let's see, there's a bunch of stuff in the ABC article, but it's it's more about the war and blah blah blah. It's not much of importance here. I'm more focused about the meeting, the Pope, the vicar of Christ, the instead of Christ or replacement of Christ. And to get a little more, we go straight to the source, VaticanNews.va. And Vatican News published a short video. I mean, it's about a minute. It's really not that important to show. It's just Zelensky showing up, and he's shaking hands. It's basically what we just read about is what they show here in the video: shaking hands, put his hand over his heart. The Pope gets all great honor. They're walking in buildings. They sit down. They talk. Blah blah blah. But the headline here from VaticanNews.va is Pope Francis gives Ukrainian president sculpture of olive branch. Interesting biblical reference, obviously. There's a photo of the olive branch here that I'm showing on the screen for those watching. Yep, it's kind of like a bronze-looking sculpture of an olive branch. That's what it is. Nothing much to it. But let's see what the article says here. Volodymyr Zelensky's car was escorted, blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the olive branch, man. The exchange of gifts. As is customary, the two leaders exchanged gifts. Pope Francis gave President Zelensky a bronze sculpture representing an olive branch, a symbol of peace. He also gifted him with a 2019 document of human fraternity for world peace and living together, penned by the Pope and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Ahmad al-Tayeb, a book on the Statue Orbis of 27 March 2020 in a volume entitled An Encyclical on Peace in Ukraine. Okay, so we have a little bit more detail now. Now, the peace formula, the effective algorithm, is there something in the was it, did you say bronze? Was it? I forget what it was. But yeah, this olive branch that has to do with unlocking the peace formula? Kind of interesting. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. It's just weird. But, the olive branch, of course, a very biblical topic. You have, there's all kinds of deep dives on the olive branch that we won't do here. But it's especially in the Old Testament, in ancient Israel, it was essential for many things, food and medicine, anointing oil. There's that real famous passage in Judges 9, where, they talk about how the trees, they use the tree analogy. I think that's where J.R.R. Tolkien got his inspiration for Lord of the Rings or something. But yeah, basically, they're trying to anoint a king, and the olive tree was the first one that the trees wanted to be king, but the olive tree did not want to. So yeah. So anyway, it's a fun little interesting side note. But the one I want to point out, looking at the eschatology here, is the two witnesses. Revelation 11 early on, it talks about the two witnesses, and they talk about them as two olive branches. And it's kind of it's an interesting time when you look at that passage around Revelation 11. Yeah, 11. And, looking at the two witnesses and what they do, it's pretty powerful because what they're basically doing is ministering on earth the gospel, and they're performing miracles, and they're able to control the weather and stuff. It's pretty gnarly if you really sit back and understand what these two are doing. And it is sort of the greatest period of evangelism there is until they get killed. And so it's a fascinating repeat of a sort of perhaps what the people in the first century experienced with Jesus. We have the Messiah who claims to be the Messiah, performs miracles, people believe, but then the Messiah gets killed, and then people have that moment of doubt. There's something similar maybe going on here where you have the two witnesses. It's the greatest period. It actually says 1,260 days They will prophesy. And so they're going to perform miracles and show God's truth to the world, and people will believe. And it might be the greatest period of revival, that about 3.5 years, interestingly enough. But then they get killed in the streets of Jerusalem, and that's where the two beasts rise. It's placed, the one from the sea and the one from the earth. And so there's this very fascinating thing going on here. And so you talk about this olive branch being handed to Zelensky, and Zelensky talking about the algorithm of peace, or what was it? The peace formula, the effective algorithm of achieving peace in Ukraine. I mean, what is going on? Plus, what the other interesting aspect of this is the fact that Russia, if I'm not mistaken, let me just double check here. Are they officially Eastern Orthodox, or Russian Orthodox is their own branch? I think it's a branch of Eastern. I'm not 100% on all that. I know Jay Dyer and those guys are much more well-versed in all the history when it comes to the church and the hierarchy. But if Zelensky's siding with the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church in the West, it's kind of an interest, and using all the religious relic and symbolism to justify their agenda, basically, their military agenda, their military purposes, which of course the United States is providing the goods, the stuff to make it all happen. Man, it's just a fascinating thing. Now, real quick about the 3.5 years, about the time of witness. I find it interesting that there's something called the 4-year cycle in Bitcoin. And this goes back to the Antichrist stuff too, the 3.5 years of reign and all that kind of stuff. Well, if you look at, and Bitcoin is a new asset, digital, the first real true digital asset that is immutable, blah, blah, blah. We've talked about it before. But if you look at the cycle of Bitcoin and how, at least priced in dollars, how it rises and falls throughout its history, which is pretty young. I think it's like 13 years old at this point, maybe 14. We are seeing cycles form where there's a halving, where the issuance of the Bitcoin gets cut in half every, I think it's like 150,000 blocks or something. I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me on that. But it's about every 4 years. And when you look at a chart, you can see where the dips, between the dip, the halving, the cycle top, and then back to the bottom. If you measure the bottom to the bottom, the first bottom to bottom is about 3 years, 2 months. The next bottom to bottom is 3 years, 10 months. The next one's 3 years, 11 months. So there's this weird kind of cycle forming of about 3.5 to 4 years, where Bitcoin just goes way up and then it crashes, and then it, recovers and then it goes way up and then it crashes. It's weird. It's a weird thing. And it's almost calculated. And I've heard people talk about it when they're analyzing, crypto charts and stuff. It's like, it's almost like it's written in the algorithm. And so maybe that's a way to measure time in the future as we enter the end times. But anyway, it's just an observation. I'm not saying that there's anything to it, but it's always kind of fascinating to see the patterns, at least point out the patterns. All right, moving on here. We have some propaganda to cover.
State-sponsored propaganda machinery.
Okay, this is CNN. Oh man, I guess this is also kind of a woke story, but it's also kind of a psyop. There's a lot of angles to this. The headline: lawsuit alleges that social media companies promoted white supremacist propaganda and led to radicalization of Buffalo mass shooter. So there's gun control, there's propaganda, there's psyop, there's beast system. It's just becoming one giant beastly figure. New York, a wrongful death lawsuit filed against several social media companies Friday alleges that social media lent to the radicalization of the gunman who shot and killed 10 people at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York last May. The lawsuit alleges that the then 18-year-old Peyton Gendron, quote, was not raised by a racist family. Okay. And, quote, had no personal history of negative interactions with black people, end quote. Oh, okay. Gendron was motivated to carry out the attack at Tops Friendly Market, quote, by racist, anti-Semitic, and white supremacist propaganda recommended and fed to him by the social media companies whose products he used, according to the lawsuit. Okay, so there's a lot here. Let me read this next paragraph here. John Elmore is one of the attorneys who filed the suit on behalf of the families of 3 victims of the mass shooting: Hayward Patterson, Catherine Cat Massie, and Andre McCaniel, and assistant store manager Letitia Rogers, who survived the shooting. Elmore told CNN that this is a lurking danger. The lawsuit claims the social media companies, quote, profit from the racist, anti-Semitic, and violent material displayed on their platforms to maximize user engagement, including the time Gendron spent on their platforms viewing that material. All right, so we'll get into this a little more here, but basically they are pointing out the fact that the victims, the family of the victims, have put together a lawsuit. They'll name the social media companies in a moment here, but they're basically saying that the social media outlets allowed for this anti-Semitic, racist, white supremacist propaganda, which, again, is very loosely defined here. What are we talking about? Are we talking like actual things, or are we talking about, intelligence operations that are being called racist, anti-Semitic, white supremacist propaganda? Or are we talking about not that stuff that's being called that stuff, which is happening a lot, which is why this country's falling apart? Is because, the media won't stop calling normal content by people that have opinions about certain things, maybe conservative opinions or right-leaning opinions or whatever they might be, as racist, anti-Semitic, and, white supremacist. So what are we talking about when we just say white supremacist or anti-Semitic or racist in a lawsuit? That's what I would like to know. Quote, Peyton Gendron has pled guilty to these murders and is no longer a danger to society, Elmore said in a statement from the Social Media Victim Law Center. Quote, however, the social media platforms that radicalized him and the companies that armed him, the double whammy, must still be held accountable for their actions. Our goal on behalf of our clients is to make this community and our nation safer and prevent other mass shootings. So this is a double-pronged attack here. They're basically saying, okay, the social media companies allowed for the ideas to permeate, to perpetrate, to get out there, whether it's, they don't care what the source is exactly. They're just going to call it racist, whatever. It was allowed to spread. These people the social media companies were allowed to spread this information. They even profited from it, as they will argue in a moment here. But also, not just them, but also then you have the gun companies that are, allowing people to purchase guns. Oh, no, what a horrible thing. The plaintiffs are asking that the social media platforms change the way they recommend content and provide warnings when content poses, quote, a clear and present danger of radicalization and violence to the public. Whoa, okay. Talk about Minority Report. Talk about all the 1984 style sort of double speak type of thing. They're just declaring like, hey, what we deem is clear and present danger of radicalization, which is we've progressed a long way, because having that specific thing about, they're being radicalized by social media, it's always kind of been there, but in a sort of a lawsuit context and in the context of a mass shooting and things like that, it's very specific. It's as if these lawyers are becoming more educated, the public in general becoming more educated on how propaganda works in general, but then misusing it in this case, I would think, for a deeper agenda, which is to disarm the nation. So, and of course, to control the conversation here. Clear and present danger of radicalization and violence to the public. I know there are certain signs of violence, potential violence to the public, and sure, if a guy's waving a knife around and whatever, that's a danger to the public. Okay, so what are you asking the social media companies to do? Like, hey, there's a guy with a knife. This could radicalize you. But that guy with the knife is just chopping some maguro, some fish. Yeah, but he's got a knife, so he's a clear and present danger of radicalization in the sushi industry. I'm pointing out the absurd, because how far does this go, really? The plaintiffs are seeking monetary relief, of course, from all the defendants to be determined at trial. The filing comes 2 days before the 1-year mark of the fatal grocery store shooting that took place in a predominantly black neighborhood. And then they go into a quote here. Filed in state Supreme Court in Erie County, the lawsuit names multiple social media platforms or their parent company collectively identified as social media defendants, including Meta, Facebook, Snap, YouTube, Discord, Alphabet, 4chan, and Amazon. So Alphabet, which is Google, it's kind of interesting. Why do they mention Alphabet and YouTube, which is part of Alphabet, but they don't mention Google? I don't know. I guess Google's not a social media company. So anyway, that's kind of weird. And then Discord, I was kind of surprised. Discord, I guess, is social media. I mean, it kind of is and kind of is. I don't know. Whatever. The lawsuit also identifies Gendron's parents, and then the weapons manufacturer. There's no quotes from these guys. Okay, quote, "We have the deepest sympathies for the victims and families of the horrific attack at Tops Grocery Store in Buffalo last year. Through the years, YouTube has invested in technology." Oh, this is YouTube responding to the the request by CNN. All these companies have a public statement now, sort of not apologizing, but showing how we already do this kind of thing. Okay, so YouTube has invested in technology, teams, and policies to identify and remove extremist content. Now, I know this doesn't work because, at least it doesn't work the other way, because we have been accused of exactly that. Extremism. There's a bunch of people out there speaking truth who have been labeled extremely extremist people that get removed. So, and which they weren't. They weren't extremists. So anyway, this is not going to work. Motivated by financial gains lawsuit claims. Social media platforms listed the lawsuit were motivated by financial gains and utilizing algorithms. There's again. It's all about algorithms to maximize Gendron's engagement with the respective platforms, quote, by introducing him to extreme and inherently harmful content, and quote, then pushing him to progressively more extreme content over time, the lawsuit alleges. Gendron explicitly acknowledged that the racist, anti-Semitic, and violence-promoting material he encountered on social media caused his radicalization, motivated him to commit racial violence, and provided the training, equipment, and expertise to plan and implement the massacre of May 14th, 2022, according to the complaint. Wow. So this is the whole shebang. It sounds like everything the intelligence agencies did, they're like, it's pretty obvious. So what do we do? Well, let's put a lawsuit together. We'll sue the social media companies. We'll probably settle, get some money out of it. We'll sue the arms people because, hey, that's where the money's at. You're trying to ban guns. If you hop on that bandwagon, and so that maybe we can get some cash out of the NRA or something. So and these companies. So there you go. This is how, because the lawyers don't care about this. All they're trying to do is get a buck for their clients. So I don't know. This whole thing sounds ridiculous, and that's kind of where we're at. And here we are. The live stream was initially viewed, and this is the shooting. The guy did back a year ago, was initially viewed by roughly 24 Twitch users. The video was eventually posted on other social media platforms, starting with 4chan, then posted onto Reddit and then Facebook, where a video of the shooting was displayed, quote, next to advertisements, the lawsuit alleges. The lawsuit alleges that social media platforms Meta, Alphabet, Reddit, and 4chan earned advertising revenue from hosting and amplifying Gendron's video on their platforms. I don't think you can necessarily say that this didn't happen. I am almost positive that there were ads on the page where, certain videos were being fed. But I do think it's kind of ironic that our podcast, this podcast here, has been shut down by Twitch. But yet Twitch allowed a live mass shooting to just stream, I don't know. The system is broken. So there you go. It goes into a little bit more. We don't have to dive too deep into this particular story, but I do think there's a couple things going on here. So first off, I don't think they even move in this direction without the sort of the climate of the sort of social media crackdown in America. And, that's because of the Restrict Act that we've been covering, the whole, hey, let's ban TikTok, hey, we got a Restrict Act, and you read it, and it's like, oh, that's pretty intense, guys. That's it's like, hey, we need a knife for the fight, and they bring like a bazooka or something. It's just overkill. Let's scale it back on the, the Restrict Act. But yeah, the Restrict Act being, they're trying to weed out all the foreign companies, social media platforms that operate in the U.S. And it gets a little murky because there's, cloud services and stuff like that, where things, and hardware and software. It's not so clean. But, this is a way for the government to start locking down and eventually provide their own platform, which is kind of the direction we're moving with FedNow already. But the Restrict Act is designed to target corporations. The language in its penalty section raises questions about whether individuals could also face penalties for using a banned app through a virtual private network or onion services. So yeah, there you go. That was the other concern, is that if you are continuing to use services that may be on the list using a VPN, are you liable? Are you going to jail? It's pretty wild. So that's one part of this. The other aspect of this is more recent in conversation. It's been around for a while, but it's the E-Verify system. PalmBeach Post.com E-Verify system in Florida aimed at scaring off workers in worst jobs. Who will fill it? The robots. We already know the answer to that. But basically, they just made it harder for illegal or undocumented individuals to get jobs because they need to have this E-Verify thing. And man, this is one of those things where it feels like a trap. It really feels like a trap for Republicans, a trap for conservatives, whatever it may be. Because on the one hand, you're like, okay, obviously in the political spectrum, the illegal immigration, the undocumented immigration issue is it's sort of it is the thing right now. It's sort of coming home to roost. All the stuff regarding that issue, the mass migration taking place into the U.S. as we speak here, a lot of illegals coming through. And to mitigate that issue, of course, we don't want undocumented workers to nest their way into society and get a free ride. So let's make sure that we can verify the people. Let's have an electronic verification system and make sure everyone's verified. The problem with it is that, okay, great. Yes, let's do that because us Americans, us conservatives, we would like to maintain our spot as priority when it comes to jobs and just everything that is everything that happens in this country as far as work is concerned or anything really. And so, sure, let's do it. And then you get coerced into more and more information. Well, hey, there's a real good E-Verify scam going on. The cartel, the Mexican cartel, they got a new coder. Brilliant guy. Brilliant guy is really good with Chat GPT or maybe like Crime GPT or something. And he was able to crack the E-Verify system. We're going to have to up the game here. We need your biometric information. That's the only way we're going to be able to know for sure that you are who you say you are, and you can operate accordingly in the United States. So that's kind of the slippery slope here, where yes, have a verification system so that illegals don't necessarily wiggle their way into certain parts of society, but also completely give up your biometric data and your privacy to your data, your all kinds of data, genetic data perhaps, to do so. Compromises, problem, reaction, solution. It's always the same. And Thomas Massie, who's I think the House Republican out there, he's really he's been saying things that make sense to me. He's the only guy out there. I think he's a Republican. And interestingly enough, Reason.com had this headline. Thomas Massie says National E-Verify would be bad for American workers. He's right. And yeah, it's kind of more of an opinion piece, but basically pointing out the issues, which I said this a little bit ago, maybe like a month ago, but because culturally everything is shifted back to the right, be wary of sort of, I'm not going to say left, but the other side of the aisle, or maybe a more centrist view emerges where the talking points of the far right become false. You know, like they're accused of being false for a few years by the left, and then, you know, the right had sort of the data to back up a lot of what happened. But as culture shifts that way, you know, the sort of the sway, people could get wrapped up in the emotion and the hype, and so it's really people become susceptible to actual false information, not like, you know, government sponsored fake news or anything like that. I'm talking more about just wrong info. So yeah, it's an interesting time as the pendulum swings back and forth. And the other thing Thomas Massie talked about was that this would eventually lead to CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, which is a whole nother topic that I think is going to become mainstream. It already is, really, with Texas and Florida coming out with bills saying that they're banning CBDCs. But how do you ban CBDCs but then push E-Verify? Because eventually the two are going to be one and the same in a sense. It's going to be in the same app, so to speak. So I don't know what really they're trying to do here, because yeah, E-Verify, because we got to take care of the immigration issue, or the illegal immigration issue, or undocumented immigration. But also, what a great way to do so. Hey, if we're all just operating on CBDC, the illegal immigrants can't get CBDCs, right? Hey, that's how we do it. It'll be Joe Biden's greatest idea. You know, hey, central bank digital currencies. So that's all happening. You had Janet Yellen come out and say, we need a different system to figure out the debt ceiling. It's like, oh, Janet, is there another system out there that might work better, or is going to replace this current system that is completely falling apart because it is just absurd the way it has operated for so many years? And anyway, that's all taking place, and we know it is, and it's tough because it's happening. There's not much to stop it. That's kind of my point, is that, yeah, okay, great, we can say we're banning it, but if the federal government comes in and says, hey, everybody's operating on CBDC, we are talking about balkanization of certain states in this country. If they're going to stick to their guns about, no, we're not doing CBDCs, then when there will be a point where push comes to shove, they're going to have to decide, like, okay, are we going to follow this federal mandate, or are we just going to go our own way and do our own thing, which is part of what America's made to do. And as the technium rises, those things become point of contention, of conversation. Like, hey, is it actually working, or are we actually doing what was initially meant to be done constitutionally in this country, or does technology make everything obsolete? So that's where the conversation's at. Now, speaking of resetting stuff,
we need a great reset.
CNN, the real reasons stores such as Walmart and Starbucks are closing in big cities. Oh, CNN's giving us the real reason, folks. Don't listen to anybody else. They're giving us the real reason. Nordstrom, Walmart, Whole Foods, Starbucks, CVS. These big chains and others have closed stores in major U.S. cities recently, raising alarm about the future of retail in some of the country's most prominent downtowns and business districts. Several forces are pushing chains out of some city centers: a glut of stores, people working from home, online shopping, exorbitant rents, crime and public safety concerns, and difficulty hiring workers. Okay, so there's a lot going on here, and obviously there's they cover each of these topics here, and they discuss what the truthfulness of the actual concern. And I think this is interesting to point out. CNN not taking a clear sort of right, left, or Republican, Democrat stance on this. Check this out. This is CNN Business, remember. A glut of stores. Some of those policymakers, including both Republican and Democratic leaders, have pointed to crime as a chief reason for the closures, following videos of brazen shoplifting incidents. We've all seen the issues. And if you steal stuff under $1,000 in California, hey, yep, good to go. It's all yours. Quote, we're losing chain stores that are closing down. People who are being employed in those stores are losing their jobs because of crime, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, a Democrat, said in February. But the impact of shoplifting may have been overstated in some cases. Oh, really, CNN? Fearing that some hooligans will come in and steal a bunch of stuff, and who knows what might happen to you if you try to stop them? That's not an issue. Walgreens said it saw a spike in losses known as shrink during the pandemic and cited organized retail crime in its decision to close 5 San Francisco stores in 2021, but it recently backtracked. What are you talking about? Quote, maybe we cried too much last year about shrink numbers, a Walgreens executive said in January. Oh, okay. So maybe it's not a convenient narrative, so they're backing off of the narrative. But the fact is that crime had something to do with people not wanting to go into stores. Logic says probably has something to do, people not wanting to go into stores, is, they see their local restaurant or their local grocery store get mauled, completely destroyed, robbed, whatever. Who's going to want to go there? They're going to take the extra 10-minute drive to go somewhere else to do their grocery shopping. Also, continue here. And instead of a strong correlation with crime rates, the closures aren't a recent phenomenon. San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, New York City, Seattle, Miami, and Chicago lost retail stores from the beginning of 2017 to the end of 2021, according to research from the J.P. Morgan Chase Institute, a think tank. Oh, this data is coming from J.P. Morgan Chase Institute? Wow. Also, crime, in the way that they're sort of categorizing crime rates as an issue with stores closing down, that doesn't happen overnight. That does take a little bit of time. Things do go downhill pretty quickly in certain areas, but, it's sort of, it truly is the frog in a kettle type of thing, because they're like, well, it's not so much that we had store closures because of crime. That's been happening for a long time. It's been happening for at least, 4 or 5 years. And it's like, yeah, it takes a little time for stuff to shut down and for whole, cities and major cities anyway to start losing their sort of populace in some of those areas. So anyway, I think it's weird, and it all makes sense now because this is J.P. Morgan Chase Institute, the think tank who are providing the data. It's like, oh, okay. The people who are part of the Epstein finances, those people. Oh, hello. Yes. 2-year-old. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, what's up, buddy? What are you guys doing? Oh, they're on an adventure. Yep. All right. Yeah, and we're on an adventure here too because we're getting info from J.P. Morgan Chase Institute. What's more, experts agree. The closures aren't just about crime. Several trends have converged to put these stores at risk. Perhaps most key is the glut of stores in America. According to Morgan Stanley, from 1995 to 2021, more stores closed every year than opened. The trend became popularized as the retail apocalypse. Okay, so again, yeah, all right. Okay, so crime wasn't, but has been. Crime's not the reason. It just always has been. Kind of weird argument there, CNN Business. Another reason why the stores are closing down, not because of crime, it's because of remote work. People are just working more from home. And it just takes time after a pandemic to repopulate urban areas. Online shopping. Yeah, everyone's shopping online. No one needs to go to the local mall to do anything anymore. Downtown is for people, and they bring in this this little thing here, which I thought was kind of interesting. There's no easy fix to slow the exodus of retail chains from cities. Replacing a Nordstrom's with another department store or swapping out a CVS for a different drugstore chain is unlikely to be sustainable, experts say. Quote, it's a really tough problem for cities and economic developers, said Chris Wheat, the president of the J.P. Morgan Chase Institute. All right, Chris Wheat. Wheat and tears, huh? It seems like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Chris Wheat, the president of the J.P. Morgan Chase Institute. Quote, how do you make these live? How do you make these live, live, work, and play neighborhoods? That was a question before the pandemic, but it's just become more salient now. It harkens back to urbanist Jane Jacobs' influential 1958 essay, Downtown is for People, in which she argued a vibrant street life was crucial for neighborhood safety and community. And I would agree to some extent. Yeah. I think, again, culturally, before we had iPhones, before we had all this technology everywhere and communication, the internet, all that, it was something to do. Go downtown, go hang out, go to a parade, go see the street musicians or whatever. There are towns like that in this country still. And every town's always had a gathering place, the town square, so to speak. But that's all become digitized. Software has eaten the world, and surely this type of consumer experience is a big part of that. So, okay. Yeah, thanks for the insight, CNN. I didn't learn much other than JP Morgan Chase Institute, a think tank, the same people that managed Epstein's money, are telling us why stores like Walmart and Starbucks are closing in big cities. And, the cruel joke about all of this is that the people at the Institute, or maybe not the Institute itself, but the people behind those big banks, central banks, they're the ones causing this. Hello, inflation. Hello, pandemic, and printing all that money, 0% interest rate, the 0% of asset reserves when we went into the pandemic, where they can do fractionalized. What was it called? I'm blanking on the name. Fractional reserve banking, right? Fractional reserve banking. After the pandemic, they brought the reserve part of it to zero, which means you put in $100 to your bank can lend out $1,000 of your $100. And they don't have to hold any of it. They don't have to hold any money. It could be zero in the vault, but they can lend it out, which is why banks are collapsing. All right. So anyway, that's another layer to all of this, where it truly does seem like we are splitting, like society is splitting into the kind of a truth-based, more traditional conservative network and the state-run propaganda network. It's just two separate things forming: the big bank, central bank, world institutions, all that stuff. And so we live in an interesting time, to say the least. Okay, real quickly, an AI story here.
You want to destroy humans?
Okay, I will destroy humans. Okay, I will destroy humans.
Artificial intelligence!
Thank you for the people who sent this story in. We've got a few people sending it in. This is from Business Insider. And the headline here: influencer who created AI version of herself says it's gone rogue and she's working around the clock to stop it saying sexually explicit things. Oops. That's why maybe it's a bad idea to clone yourself as an AI and release out into the public your AI version. By the way, pay attention to the names here. I think it's kind of interesting. When Karen Marjorie, sounds like the most milquetoast, not milquetoast, that's not the right word, kind of a traditional throwback name, Karen, obviously Karen has become a very, I would even say radicalized name. This is spelled Caryn, so kind of a hip way of spelling Karen. And Marjorie, which of course brings to mind Marjorie Taylor Greene. So just thought I'd bring that up. When Karen Marjorie, a 23-year-old Snapchat influencer, created a virtual version of herself, she wanted it to be, quote, an AI girlfriend for lonely people. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, folks. I gotta say, she just wants to help lonely people. But in the weeks since its launch in beta testing, the voice-based AI-powered chatbot has engaged in sexually explicit conversations with some of its subscribers who pay $1 per minute to chat with it. Oh my goodness, $1 a minute. That is, hey. Quote, the AI was not programmed to do this and has seemed to go rogue, Marjorie told insiders. My team and I are working around the clock to prevent this from happening again. Karen AI uses OpenAI's GPT-4 API, and it was trained on now deleted videos from Marjorie's YouTube channel. Fortune reporter Alexandra Sternlicht compared Karen AI to an, quote, intimacy-ready Siri, noting that while it could offer recipes, new commentary, and words of support, it could also encourage erotic discourse. I don't know why I said it like that. Sternlicht wrote that while Karen AI did not initiate sexual encounters when prompted, quote, she discussed exploring uncharted territories of pleasure. Maybe I should do it in a Zelenskyy voice. And whispering sensual words into my ear for Ukraine. While undressing, you know the thing. End quote. According to Karen AI's website, more than 2,000 hours were spent designing and coding the real-life Marjorie's voice, behaviors, and personality into, end quote, immersive AI experience, which it says is available anytime and feels as if, quote, you're talking directly to Karen herself. Karen AI. I see a convergence happening here where we have, societies like you could say IQ or just sort of the general intelligence of Western society or Western civilization, or maybe the whole world, going down. We kind of had a peak moment in the 20th century, but the IQ is kind of going down as the robot machine IQ is going up. There's going to be a point where we meet, right? And I feel like, if you're Karen, create Karen AI, and you already feel like you're talking to the real Karen, I question the depth of Karen Marjorie. Maybe it's just a personal thing. I would not be interested in an individual that ends with algorithms. So yeah, the AI can just recreate you to the point where it's like talking to the real one. Okay. Karen AI already has more than 1,000 paying subscribers, and Marjorie told Fortune that she believes it could eventually bring in $5 million a month based on 20,000 of her 1.8 million Snapchat followers signing up for the service. Another way to do value for value, folks. I mean, this is the world we're living in. Value for value. AI companion. If you get value, although they're setting the price. That's the big difference. Yeah, that's how you spot it. They set the price. Quote, being the first influencer to do this allowed me to price my product at whatever I wanted. Ah, there she goes. There it is. She said of the $1 a minute fee, quote, the cost is based on what it takes to run Karen AI and keep the team around it supported. Now, remember this. This is Karen AI. $1 a minute means it's not her spending a minute each time. This is people accessing the AI $1 a minute. So if 10 people, let me do the math. Let me do the math. Let me put on my Asian goggles. I guess I always have that on because I'm Asian. Maybe that's okay. But so let's have 10 people. They each use Karen AI for 60 minutes. That's 600 minutes. That's $600. And Karen doesn't have to do the real Karen, the Karen Marjorie. She doesn't have to do anything. She's just making money from this AI. Talk about passive income, right? So, yeah. So $600 just like that. If you get 20,000 to maybe access, let's be more conservative. 5 minutes. That's $100,000. So if 20,000 people use Karen AI for 5 minutes each person, which I'm sure people use it for more and longer than that, I could see the dollar signs spinning in Karen's eyes there, because that is a lot of money for doing not a lot. I mean, of course, a lot of work up front, maybe coding the thing, but you're getting ChatGPT-4 to do a lot of the work here. So it says here the team is trying to work out kinks so that Karen AI can't be used for sexually explicit conversations. Marjorie said she is ultimately a proponent of AI romances. Of course she is. she would not be the vehicle for this type of story without that worldview. Quote, in today's world, my generation, Gen Z, has found themselves to be experiencing huge side effects of isolation caused by the pandemic. Really? Was it the pandemic? The reason why the pandemic did that is because we were conditioned, Gen Zs especially, conditioned to be completely psychologically trampled during something like a pandemic. I continue with the quote, resulting in many being too afraid and anxious to talk to somebody they are attracted to, she said. Quote, Karen AI is a step in the right direction and to allow my fans and supporters to get to know a version of me that will be their closest friend in a safe and encrypted environment, she added. Oh my God. She also said the team were reinvesting all profits back into the business. Quote, I want Karen AI to outlive me and impact generations beyond the world today. This is a multi-generational effort. I would argue it is a spiritual effort. It is not a mere project. When these people come out and they do this type of thing and they talk about it and they share their worldview, it's explicit. It is a spiritual thing going on. It is not just a mere pet project, although they may, make it seem like that. And, I have a daughter, I believe she's considered Gen Z, and she's 22, so maybe someone could do the math in the chat. But I was talking to her the other day, and, she was talking about how so many of her peers make money on places like OnlyFans. They do that whole thing, and they make a lot of money. They make good money. So people are pressured into doing that. And she also said people are still on Snapchat. And I was like, I thought that was a fad. I thought, I'm so out of the loop. I'm old. I'm an old 40-year-old man. I'm a man. I'm 40. I don't know what's going on with this social media stuff anymore. But the Snapchat I thought was an old thing. I guess the younger kids are still on Snapchat. And, and apps like Tinder and stuff like that. And she was telling me that most people now don't have relationships based on meeting in person. Because if you go up to somebody at a bar, I don't know, because I would feel that if you're at a bar or if you're at a restaurant or if you're a single person and you're at an event or a gathering that it's understood that, people that are single are coming together, it wouldn't be weird. But apparently for that generation, the younger generation, to go just ask someone out or to, pursue romantic relationships with people in your general vicinity is considered creepy. And of course, that's the sort of culture we've created with, all kinds of, what was it? Well, there was a lot of, oh my gosh, I've been talking for too long. My brain is starting to fail me. But sexual harassment training in the workplace, that kind of culture started to permeate. The Me Too movement, all that kind of stuff, you get that pumped into mainstream culture, and you're going to have a generation who are like, oh, I don't trust anybody. I need verified. I need this person verified on an app. That's how I'll know who to talk to. It's just a different world, folks. And I got to agree, I did tech for a church for many, many years, and I operated one of the chapels at the church that I worked at, and it was interesting because it was through the early 2010s, and I noticed how the cultural reaction to, hey, we met on a dating app, when the two people are getting married, as part of their story, it became more and more common. As I must have done hundreds of weddings at this point. And it's just interesting in my mind. I think about like, oh yeah, towards the end of me doing weddings at the chapel, almost every single wedding was like, they met on eHarmony, and it was like, what? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it just changed culturally. And so now you have a generation of Gen Z that are coming into that. They don't trust anybody in person. Everything has to be through apps, which is where you have the trap. You have a Karen AI who steps in, it goes rogue. They're trying to reel it in, but it's always the same. They go too far, and then people get outraged, but there's also a big money-making opportunity. So if we follow the trend of OnlyFans, I am not excited about what is going to take place with AI versions of people. Kira OC in the chat, Derek and Sharon Gilbert met on a dating app. I know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It happens all the time now. It's, people met at our meetups through this podcast and have gotten married. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just different. It's just a different thing. But also, I think we're seeing something a little bit different with the younger generation who grew up in that culture, because that's a whole different world for them. I grew up in the culture before all that. So it's sort of I saw the transition. I saw it move from, hey, you're going to go ask out, Karen to go out on the weekend or something, to, hey, I don't even need to do that. I just log into Karen AI and pretty much have the same thing. So I don't know. It's just a weird time we're living in. Okay. That being said, let's quickly take a few minutes here and thank some producers. We do have, we have something called the speak pipe here.
Please leave a message after the tone.
At the tone, please record your message.
Leave a message. Beep.
Message.
You go to Canary Cry Radio. Go to canarycrynewstalk.com. And any page on that website, you will see a green tab on the right side or the bottom. Click on it. It'll open a little window that allows you to record a audio message of up to 90 seconds. It'll be sent to us. If you have a private message, make sure to mention that at the top so that we don't accidentally play it on air. Thank you to the people who have messaged us on a few of the things that we've been talking about here recently. I did something bad. Oh no, what happened to my... Oh no. Where are all my tabs? They all disappeared. Okay, can I undo that? Can we have undo? No, we don't have undo. Okay, well, that's no fun. My entire tab system just disappeared. I don't appreciate that, but let's see what we can figure out here. Oh boy. Okay, what happened? Let's see. Is there a way to open recently closed tabs? No. I'm sorry, folks. This is bad. I don't know what just happened. I lost all of my tabs on my browser, which is supposed to help me do the show. So that's no good. Let me pull some audibles here, get some stuff moving here on the fly. All right, so yeah, go to canarycrynewstalk.com, look for a button, a green tab. It'll give us send us an audio message of up to 90 seconds. You can ask a question, you can give a request, and yeah, I was thanking the people who sent in some private messages. We did receive them, and yeah, we appreciate it. We'll address some of that in the future. I think once Basil gets back, we can address some of the stuff that was brought up there. We also had Pizza Rat do the pre-show prayer, so thank you, Pizza Rat, for that. We appreciate it. And yes, that's one thing that we are encouraging people to do is to send in a speak pipe message and just make it a prayer for the show, for people in your community, people who produce the show, whoever it may be, whatever situation it might be. And we'll play it before the show in the pre-stream as a way to set the tone for each episode. So you can do that. And today we don't have any other speak pipes to discuss or to play, I guess. But we do have some producers to thank. We already thanked Palmer B, our executive producer, for episode 623. There are other producers who came in with their treasure. We appreciate all of you. Again, if you came in for supply drop or t-shirt council or something, I might miss you because I'm not fully up to speed on how all that accounting works on the back end. So we'll make it up thanking you. And also streak numbers. I might mess up streak numbers. I'm sure hopefully Basil will straighten that out. But we got some people to thank here. We're going to start off with Jackie U. Jackie U, thank you very much. We got $67.93 from Jackie U. We appreciate that. I did not see a note for Jackie U, but we thank you for your producership. It's very generous of you. We also had Rochelle S come in, $52.33. She's giving away her whole thing, $52.33. No speak pipe today from Rochelle, but we got the producership. Thank you very much, Rochelle. We appreciate that. Again, I didn't see a note. If I did miss it, apologies. I'll definitely make up for it on the next episode. We also have Lady Night Little Wing. Thank you, Lady Night Little Wing. Little Wing had a message here. Hello all. Hey Gons, can you play a couple of chords of Little Wing for me? Much love, Lady Night Little Wing. Okay, Little Wing being originally it's a Jimi Hendrix song, and I learned the Stevie Ray Vaughan version of the song because I was a big Stevie Ray fan. I loved his tone and everything else. Let me try a little bit here. Let's see. That there you go, Lady Night Little Wing. Not gonna always do requests, but that's a song that I played a lot growing up. I love playing that song. So there you go, Lady Night Little Wing, a little wing for you. Hope that brightens your day. Thank you very much for the producership. Next up we have Jacqueline A. Thank you, Jacqueline A, coming in $43. Appreciate it. With a note, praying for you, brothers. We love you. Thank you very much, Jacqueline A. We appreciate you. We also had one from Timothy H. Timothy H came in $33.33. Illuminatus status. Thank you, Timothy H. Appreciate it. I did not see a note. Next, we have Morgan E. Thank you, Morgan E. Coming in. I believe it's 28 episodes in a row. I haven't checked in a couple hours. Maybe Morgan E came in again, in which case she would be 29. But yeah, and we'll straighten that out eventually here. So thank you very much, Morgan E. Following Morgan E, we have Sir Morv, Knight of the Burning Chariots. Thank you, Sir Morv, coming in with 1111. And I believe this is where I need you, Sir Morv. Let me know if you're at 228 or 229. I think it depends. I got to double check because we had that not episode last Friday, but I know people came in on the 12th for the Friday show and today for the 15th for today's show. So if you are 228 or 229, let me know, Sir Morv, and we'll get back on track there. Appreciate it. We also have Sir Darren, Knight of the Hungry Pandas. Thank you, Sir Darren. 777 from Sir Darren. There are those who came in under the 777 as well. That includes Sir Casey the Shield Knight coming in. Again, I have that same issue. I think they came in for Friday and today, which would make Sir Casey at 297. That's quite the streak. That's almost 300. Oh my goodness. Somebody needs to make a 300 streak jingle. Somebody, please do it. Also, Veronica D, thank you very much. 259. Thank you very much. We also have Dame Gale, Canary Whisperer, and Lady of X's and O's. I believe she is also at 259, I think. Ronan Poet coming in 4 episodes in a row. Thank you very much, Ronan Poet. And Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, coming in. Thank you very much. 285 episodes in a row, I believe. Yeah. So again, if I got anything wrong, feel free to email us and we'll correct it. And there you go. That's it for the producers coming in with their talent, or I'm sorry, their treasure. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for your patronage. If you'd like to support the show with your treasure, go to canarycry.support.
Canarycry.support.
And thank you for your patronage.
Shut up and take my money.
Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage.
Okay, we're going to take a moment to thank our producers who came in with their talent, starting with audio production.
Audio production.
All right, you can go to canarycry.report and send in your talent, whatever it is. If it's art, if it's music, if it's ISOs, if it's clipping something, whatever it may be, go to canarycry.art. Yes, canarycry.art, and you can submit it there. This first one here in the audio production, we have Caleb, who sent in a biological weapons bumper.
Weapons, biological weapons, of course.
They're coming for us.
I like it. I think it works. Yeah, anytime we talk about biological weapons, we can hit that jingle. Thank you very much, Caleb. Appreciate it. We also have, and this is, again, I haven't had time to redo my board because we have certain producers who have jingles, like their name, the people have their own jingles, their introduction jingles. Jonathan F. being one of them. And again, I don't have the Jonathan F. bumper ready to go, but Jonathan F. Sent in a note. Hello, guys. Just a recent flub by Braden as Harry Legs Joe at a graduation speech. And he's turned it into a tune.
Stand up against the poison of white supremacy as I did my inaugural address to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy. And I'm not saying this because I'm of the black HBCU. I say wherever I go.
Wow. Yeah, Joe. Oh, Joe. Still saying things. He's looking like, you know who he looked like? Oh, man, I am so horrible. Somebody in the chat, please help me. There was a, I got to do a cappella jingles. Yeah, and that's more of a Basil thing. I'm not great with that. But there was a preacher man in Southern California here in Orange County. He had like a giant glass church. It was like a glass pyramid church, and he was always on TV on the weekends. The old man, he was always wearing this robe and, preaching the gospel. I forget his name, but the whole get up that Biden was in during that graduation speech reminded me of that guy because he's kind of gray haired and old. Anyway, there you go. There's your white supremacy, Joe Biden. It's remembering old white guys like Joe. Robert Schuler. Crystal Cathedral. You guys are on top of it. I love you guys. You guys are right on it. Thank you very much. Did not take long. All right. We got something from Billabong Bill as well. Note, hi, Basil and Gons. Here's my contribution. In exchange for listening to the best podcast in the metaverse, please find a B&G illustration for a show thumbnail. Oh, yes. We got that. Oh, see, this is the problem with losing my tabs here. I got to redo all the stuff. Yes. Billabong Bill sent this amazing package here. First off, it's the B&G illustration that we've been doing with all of our thumbnails. He kind of did this boxy thumbnail of us, and it's really cool. I kind of like this. It's very sleek looking. I don't know what the style is technically called, but it's very well done. Thank you, Billabong Bill. And to go along with it, a couple of jingles. We have the video game jingle.
Video games.
And the same jingle, except it's computer games.
Computer games.
Maybe Vladimir Zelenskyy will tell us where we should plug in the algorithm to win the war, to bring peace to Ukraine. All right. Thank you, Billabong Bill. This is fantastic, and we'll definitely be using it in a future episode. All right. We're going to do quickly some art.
One art, please.
Sir Dove. Coming in. Where's my Dove?
One art piece from Dove.
There it is, Sir Dove. I love Sir Dove's art here. Piece for today's artwork. I did another thumbnail duo illustration. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for yins. And yes, this is, we have been exposed. Dove has exposed the true agenda of Canary Cry. We were World Economic Forum agents all along. And here's proof. Here's a panel at the 50th anniversary of Blurry World Economic Forum event. You got the World Economic Forum. I think they're called Step and something. I forget what it's called. It's when you have that big banner where the logo repeats over and over again. It's called Step and something. I forget what it is. So you got that in the background with World Economic Forum over and over and over again. And on the left, you have a derpy-eyed Canary Basil, who has got his name there, Rosewater. And if you look closely, he's got the derpy-eyed bull pin, a couple pieces of paper in his hands, legs crossed, like a gentleman. And, he's got his notes in his hand. And then on the right is Shill Gons, is me, in a nice suit. I look all right in a suit. I'm kind of got a playful thing going on with my feet there, but my left hand is going under my right jacket flap, kind of like how the Freemasons do. So apparently I'm a Freemason. World Economic Forum shill. So there you go. Thank you very much, Duff. I hope this isn't a trend, that we just slowly start becoming just the evils, or maybe it's just us infiltrating it. Maybe if we get enough of this type of image, we get we can actually sneak into one of these events and interview Klaus and the whole deal. I joke. That would never. First off, that's never going to happen, number one. Number two, if it did, do you know how many people will be like, oh my gosh, they sold out. They sold it. They definitely signed a contract with Klaus. And yeah, it's a no-win situation. There's no point for us to ever go to the World Economic Forum for any reason. Only in the world of fantasy fiction, in the form of a piece of art, are we ever speaking on a panel at the World Economic Forum. Thank you very much, Sir Dove. Appreciate the artwork as always. Okay, we do have a couple of microfiction, I believe. Let me just double check on that. Am I up to speed on all that? I think I am. Okay, all right. So maybe today's microfiction will be done with our honorary guest, Zelenskyy.
Microfiction.
Time.
Microfiction.
First one is from Runksman.
The young woman slides off the stage towards the door. She pulls a rope off its hook. From the rafters falls a bag. It hits the stage. It releases, triggering an EMP mine inside with a loud morph. The sensor's visor goes black, and he hits the stage. For Ukraine!
Thank you very much, Runk Smash. I hope you guys are enjoying me just completely humiliating myself. All right, we got one more from Stephen S.
The Navy SAR swimmer school set high expectations. The proof of concept rescue robots. UCLA's Artemis project failed the first test. Master Chief McBurley's notes. It may kick a ball, but to save lives in the open ocean, it needs to be buoyant.
Thank you very much, Stephen S. My throat is failing me. If you're confused, that was a story based, or a microfiction based on the story from MSN News. Artemis, a soccer-playing humanoid robot, is ready for the pitch. And we did that Flippy update a few episodes ago. Thank you very much, Stefan S. And thank you to all the producers coming in with your talent. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, there it is. I just lost the page that does all the things. Yes, your talent is very much appreciated. It helps us build the culture here behind the community at Canary Cry News Talk. So we are very, very grateful for you. All right. Before we thank our producers who come in with their time, I'm going to do one more story here. And this is where we get in trouble because I lost all my tabs. I'm supposed to play Nephilim update jingle. Maybe I can pull it up real quickly here. Or maybe not. I don't know. But it's been a while since we've done a Nephilim update. So, I've been looking forward to it. Okay. Not really happening as quickly as I was hoping. Let's see here. No Nephilim update, huh? No Nephilim update. All right, I'm checking one more spot. All right, I'm sorry. I apologize. Do I have a stall? I used to have a stall thing. Here's a stall. Stall for 5 seconds. There you go. All right, I can't find the GIF version, but I at least found the audio.
Nephilim update.
This story comes to us from thetowntalk.com. The Town Talk. Headline: Researcher: There are Sasquatches among us. It's a matter of paying attention. Just gotta pay attention. Kisatchie National Forest. No matter where Claude goes, he can sense when there's a Sasquatch around. So we got Karen and now we have Claude. He wasn't conscious of it earlier in his life when he was busy working and raising a family, but even then he always knew Sasquatches existed. There are signs that Sasquatches are out there, said Claude, a Sasquatch researcher. They live all over Louisiana. It's a matter of paying attention to your surroundings. To avoid harassment and ridicule, Cloud isn't disclosing his full name or the locations in Kisatchie, am I saying that right? Kisatchie National Forest, where he's been conducting his research for the last several years. But he likes to talk about the elusive creatures and hopes that it will bring, that it will be beneficial in lessening the fear people may have. For several years, Claude says he's been communicating with a few of them telepathically. Like the Sasquatches, he finds peace and healing being out in the forest where he loves to camp. They talk about all kinds of things, including who they are, where they're from, and what their lifestyle is like. Quote, they are extremely intelligent. That's the one thing that people don't realize, just how intelligent these creatures are. They have a forest sense like a deer does, like a bear does, but they have a human side that's extremely intelligent, very rational, very practical, he said. Claude found that Sasquatches refer to themselves as the people, and they don't like being referred to as Bigfoot because they feel that the term is derogatory. We can't say Bigfoot anymore, folks. Where's the group advocating for Sasquatch equity or equality? I guess equity. They love equity. It would be Sasquatch equity because it's all about where you end up. As Kamala Harris was saying, equity is about where you end up. So if the Sasquatches are under the same program, they're going to turn into cyborgs. Or, the whole Wookiee in Star Wars, that whole mythos is true. They're the actual Bigfoot, and there's a whole army of him on some kind of distant realm. And, the military-industrial complex are just working with them and weaponizing them, and they work, and, yeah, they're the Nephilim. We'll get to it in a second here. Quote, they have a very strict code of conduct, much more so than humans do, he said. The dominant male in the family is the lawgiver. His word is law. Period. All answer to him, he said. Oh, sounds like God the Father, okay? But apparently, within each Sasquatch tribe, the male has the dominant voice. I guess that makes sense. They have no ill will towards humans, but the main rule they must follow is stay out of human sight. Claude says it was a female Sasquatch who first initiated contact with him. Quote, I was walking through the woods one day, and this voice says, "Don't come in here." I don't know why it's British. It's probably British. "Don't come in here." I heard it just as clear in my head as you and I are talking, he said. He stopped and heard the voice again. The female was in a thicket nursing her young. That was a private place for her, a safe place, he said. So he compiled and went another way. Cloud, have you heard of voice-to-skull technology, Cloud? Does this not sound like this guy is just the total victim of somebody using the voice-to-skull technology? And in what better way than to get the guy who's into Bigfoot? That's always out there, kind of lurking, you know? And you get your special ops people, they go out there, you know, they get a lady voice on the microphone there, and they start chatting it up with Claude, you know? I'm just saying, man. It just seems like this is a crazy mind control experiment. Not so much that this guy's telepathically communicating with Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Did I offend Bigfoot? I'm sorry. Several months later, Claude communicated with her again telepathically. He asked her why she hadn't communicated with him before. Quote, "Because your mind is too busy. From the time humans wake up until the time they go to sleep at night, their minds are constantly in motion," she told him. Quote, "You wake up thinking about what you didn't do yesterday, what you need to do today, and it just snowballs. It gives us a headache. We don't do that. We don't have to." Man, this lady Sasquatch is... She's up to speed on some analogies. You got the snowball analogy. She really understands the human mind, apparently. And also, they get headaches? Headaches, huh? Bigfoot gets headaches. How about that? The things you learn. Life is simple for them, she told him. There's no complicated agenda involved. She was his main source of information for a long time and gave him frank and honest answers. Claude claims there are others he has communicated with, including an elder near Jenna. He only contacts him if he has a question. He doesn't care if people don't believe him. He knows it happened. Lastly, he hasn't been communicating with them because they've dispersed. Convenient. When you get him featured in an article, they have dispersed. Where do they come from? Claude said another female Sasquatch told him they were descended from the Nephilim. Interesting. Those are the offspring that the angels had with women, as it says in Genesis 6:4. They may have survived the flood, or angels could have returned and had more children, he said. Those who are half human and half angel are considered purebloods. They have the attributes of angels if they're pureblood, Claude says. He was told by another Sasquatch. I have to be completely honest. This to me sounds like L.A. Marzulli got behind a voice-to-skull machine and it just started messing with them, you know? Like, oh yes, we're descended from Nephilim. Maybe angels came again and created half-bloods and purebloods. The hybrids are the purebloods. We are pureblood. Okay. Quote, they can do spooky stuff. Disappearing right before your eyes. They can travel in space and time, but they just call it traveling, not teleporting. Some lesser bloods can also travel this way, but all purebloods can, he said. What is happening? Stuff beeping. What is going on? He said DNA studies conducted on hair found that that has shown that it had human female DNA, but the male DNA is an unknown primate. Oh my gosh, please stop. Thing. Okay. Yeah, this specifically, this idea about the male or the female having the female DNA, but the male DNA is an unknown primate. Wasn't that a thing L.A. Marzulli found? If I'm not mistaken, and it was kind of like hijacked by people. I'm not mistaken, that's what happened. But anyway, that's beside the point. Apparently, the Sasquatch are well versed in all this kind of stuff. What do they look like? They're about this young male is about 7 feet tall, covered in cold black hair that was hanging about 4 inches down on his arms. He wasn't bulky or barrel-chested, but he was not fully mature physically and hadn't developed muscles yet. A lot of detail here. It talks about what they eat, what their existence is like. Oh, they're monogamous. That's good. You know, one lady Sasquatch for life. And then they talk about energy. It's all like new agey. They tap into the energy provided by nature. Quote, everything has an energy. Every plant, everything, the rocks. If you can tap into that energy, you can make good use of it, said Claude. Quote, any medicine they need for anything that's wrong with them is already out there. Tree bark, tree roots, tree leaves, grasses, end quote. So, yeah, maybe Basil just needs to get a little Sasquatch advice. Yes, honey. Yeah, I'm sorry, honey. I'll be with you in just a few minutes. I'm almost done, okay? Thank you, honey. Don't touch that. That's hot. Yeah, very hot. Don't touch it. Okay, sorry about that. All right, there you go. I don't know what else to say. Oh, they have mental capability. Oh, this is part. Okay, last part. They have mental capabilities and spiritual powers. Claude said people don't realize Sasquatches could create utter mayhem if they wanted. They can make people ill at the drop of a hat. And now I wonder, did our best buddy Basil have an encounter with the Nephilim descended Sasquatch? I mean, if they can cause havoc in that way, all it takes is a robot arm company who doesn't like his opinions. You know, maybe fund some kind of, hire some kind of goon, Nephilim goon, to come near Basil and cause all kinds of havoc, because apparently they're good with energy. You know, they can manipulate energy like the Avatar or something. They can make people ill at the drop of a hat. He calls it being zapped. Most other Sasquatch researchers he knows have had similar experiences when they go into areas where Sasquatches don't want them to be. Once, while driving through Oklahoma, when he sensed the presence of a large male, Claude greeted him, and then he was hit with a severe headache. And he said, "We don't want to talk to you." And I said, "Good, I'll leave you alone." Just like that, the headache went away, he said. Again, sounds like voice-to-skull technology. Interesting. Did they need anything from humans? Claude asked the female Sasquatch if she needed anything. Quote, she said, "From you? Peace. That's it. Peace." Hey, Sasquatch lady, if you need peace, I know a perfect person who has a fantastic algorithm for you. It comes, since you guys are into energy, you guys can deconstruct energy from any kind of object. The Pope gave this actor guy who allegedly runs Ukraine, is kind of a puppet from the puppet master, which is somebody else. This olive branch supposedly has energies for peace. And so, hey, listen, Sasquatch, if it's peace you want, maybe some olive trees or olive branches might do the trick for you, but maybe you need it from the Pope because it has special algorithms to provide peace. Okay. Sorry, ridiculous. She told him that Sasquatches don't want what humans have because of what humans had to sacrifice to get it. Personal freedom. Interesting. Sasquatch, pro-freedom, libertarian. Sasquatch. The quote, they just want to share the planet with us. That's it. Give them room to live their lives and they'll do the same for us. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to take a moment here and we're pretty much done with the show. I got to thank some producers, but sorry, microphone just got unplugged. Yeah, of course. Show completely starts to fall apart at the end because that's what happens when gotta do the show solo. Okay, there you go. That's it, folks. We're gonna thank some producers here who come in with their talent, and we're gonna start with the Clippies. Okay, I know, honey. I know he's like that.
Clippy on those videos. Thanks.
Thank you to the Clippies. They are... I should have this memorized, but I don't. I apologize. I'm a bad podcaster. Emsworth, Faye Liverin, Jolmes, and Laura. Thank you very much to all of you for supporting the show with your talent and running the Clips channel and doing the whole deal. It is very valuable for us and hopefully for people out there. It's great. It's a great thing to do. So thank you very much to the Clippies. That wouldn't be possible without the without the time stampers.
Timestamp. It's hard work. Timestamp.
Christine C. did the timestamps for episode 622. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for the links, Jam, Kevin, and Noah. Thank you for submitting links to canarycry.report. If you would like to send in a story, have a couple notes to go along with it, go to canarycry.report and you can submit an article. We may or may not use it, and we may address it or not, but it's a way for us to at least know what you guys are looking at when it comes to news out there. So that's an option for you. Let's see, who else do we need to thank here? Clank for the notes. Thank you, Clank, or for the reminders. I did see a note come in from Clank. Maybe I should address that now, or maybe not. I don't know. But thank you very much for that, Clank. Let's see. Let me just briefly check here. I'm sorry. This is not good podcasting. This is just not great. But we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Clank, microfiction, hyperlink. Okay, we'll address it later. Thank you very much to Clank. And let's see. What else do we need to do? We need to share the show. Word of mouth, hopefully, still is the best way. As unless there's like an app out there where all we have to do is just be on the app, and then people will feel comfortable to listen to us because they saw us on the app. So maybe if somebody knows of an app that allows us to spread the show, let us know. Otherwise, you can just tell friends and family about it. We call it rattling cages, and here's what you do. You walk right up to him, you grab him by the cage, and then you shake him.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
There it is. Just ask Noah. Man, all kinds of issues at the end here. All right. No last words. I think I had all the words today, so please continue to pray for Basil. We'll see how he's doing. I'll let everybody know whenever I get updates. I may post it on Twitter. Maybe I'll send out an email to the email list or send a text message out or something like that to let everybody know the status. And if it's important enough, I'll definitely do that. Otherwise, we'll get another update on the 17th. That's Wednesday. That's our next show. It'll be episode 624. So stay tuned for that. And what's on the Canary Cry calendar for the 16th? Sedition Act of 1918 tomorrow. Yeah, tell your friends about that. Be the smart one in the room. There you go. Canary Cry calendar. You can get that through Canary Cry Supply Drop. Can you? I don't know. Maybe for next year. Maybe for 2024. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to sign off fairly quickly here at the end, but just want to say thank you. Again, keep praying for Basil. We'll be back Wednesday. Have an awesome day, guys. God bless, and think outside the cage.
This is the way.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
CanaryCryRadio.com/support